Only after getting out of the structure of education did I find things on my own that I enjoyed enough to complete. Hi, all. My name is Kevin Paul Shaw Broden, and welcome to the Hi All podcast. I'm an author of novels and short stories, scriptwriter for animation and comic books, and I'm an illustrator of comics and other books. And I am also a voice actor. My life may not have many interesting moments, at least to those outside my family, but I hope you enjoy my tales. And now, on to the episode.
Episode 8, Reading, The Romance.
Hi, all. This whole Hi All podcast series, done for Toastmasters, has been, as I have told you, about my struggle to read from childhood on to adulthood. Comic books got me through school. Rarely was there a class-assigned book that I enjoyed. Only after getting out of the structure of education did I find things on my own that I enjoyed enough to complete. First came fantasy, and then science fiction, and then a love for the mystery story. What I found, however, was that no matter the genre, I had to enjoy the characters and their relationships to enjoy the book. For me, a fantasy couldn't just be about the dragons. A science fiction story couldn't be just about the spaceships. And mystery isn't all about deductive reasoning. I would stumble upon a genre that fit what I really needed in a book, with interesting characters and relationships. And that genre was romance. I hadn't gone seeking the love stories, but the love stories were there. The first ones I read were fantasy romance and paranormal romance, both of which coming out of the genres I already loved: the witch, the wizard, the dragon, the ghost. But here it wasn't about slaying the dragon, but falling in love with it, or the ghost that falls in love with you and hopefully isn't dead at the end of the story. I then discovered the meet cute of how the characters discover each other, the accidental bumping into one another, or the enemies to lovers, and so forth. In the two novels that I've written, it is also important. In Revenge of the Masked Ghost, the adventure and the mystery is important, but it is overshadowed by the hero and his wife's love for one another. In Clockwork Genie, it was about how a police detective falls in love with one of his suspects. But it was also about a down on his luck man during the Great Depression who finds magic, and how the genie falls in love with him. On one romance podcast that I had the privilege to be a part of, I tried to explain how I thought every story was a romance story. If there are two or more characters together, whether they're friends or enemies, what's important is their relationship and interaction and what might come from it. Of course, that was before I learned that there were strict rules to what defines a romance story. Over the last several years, I have read more romance than any other genre, but actually, there had to be an element of the other genres in it for me to enjoy it, such as The Daughter of Sherlock Holmes by Leonard Goldberg, obviously a mystery tale and definitely a romance. Or Angelika Frankenstein Makes Her Match, a science fiction romance tale with a clear nod to the first science fiction story. Then came a book, a series actually, that just drew me in. With my love for comic books and comic conventions, how could I not want to read a romance that took place at a science fiction convention? Ashley Poston's Once Upon a Con series of novels, each of the stories begins with the framework of a fairy tale. The first took Cinderella and turned it into Geekerella, and then followed by The Princess and the Fangirl and Bookish and the Beast. Right now, I have just begun reading The Someday Garden, the fifth and final book of Poston's current series. These books aren't really a series like Once Upon a Con, but they do take place in the same world, if only tangentially. People know each other, but only like bumping into an old friend at the mall. But it is still fun. The first book was The Dead Romantics. There's that ghost I was telling you about, followed by The 7-Year Slip, a novel love story, and Sounds Like Love. Each of these stories has an element of fantasy throughout them, but it is the characters that I follow, whether they have their happy ever after or not. They are absolutely wonderful characters with great relationships. Last year, about 8 months ago, I had the opportunity to have a temp job at Disney Consumer Products, and I got to visit several different departments. On the wall of one was pinned cover art of soon to be released books, many of which were children's books, but also a lot of other types, some based on Marvel superheroes. And then there were the Star Wars books. In the middle of these was a Star Wars novel with a couple staring into each other's eyes, entitled Eyes Like Stars, and it is written by Ashley Poston. It has just come out, so now I can mention it. And as soon as I finish reading The Someday Garden, I will be picking this book up as well. Because of Poston's work, I have discovered other romance authors, and as I said above, I have been reading far more than ever before. I have fallen in love with the romance genre, and it has given me a far greater desire to read than anything else. In the next episode of the Hi All podcast, I will introduce you to an even greater love of mine, as I have a special guest. Thank you all for seeing me through this experience. Bye for now. Thank you for taking the time to listen to my tales. I look forward to sharing the next one with you. Visit my website and socials here. Please like, subscribe, and comment below. Thank you again. Bye, all.